see you here. It has been a long time. We haven't had an in-person summit for 3 years. We've been looking at the numbers, and it is entirely possible that this will be the largest summit we've ever had. So thank you. We are so excited. We have so much to show you. Again, thank you all for showing up. Thanks to our attendees, thanks to our sponsors. It's both wonderful that you're here, and it's important that you're here. This went around the interwebs a few months ago, and it really caught my attention, and I wanted to share it with you today about why we're here. So these are temperature data that came from NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies, and Dr. Ed Hawkins put this kind of visualization together, and I love it, because humans are pretty bad at seeing small changes over time. But we've been seeing some changes over time when it comes to temperature. Temperature is easy to measure. There's a problem with this, though, and it's not just temperature, as you all know. We're talking about real climate instability. We're talking about things that are unpredictable. We're talking about the fact that our infrastructure is completely out of step with where we need it to be now, in the near future, and in the future. And something that I think is interesting is Eunice Foote, in 1856, did a very simple experiment in her backyard showing the warming potential of CO2. You all can go do that experiment in your backyard as well. But it's not just CO2. It's other gases. It's other things happening. And all of this stuff is really intrinsically tied to energy, and that is why we're here. I consider this a crisis and an emergency, and I think a lot of you do too. And this might sound a little bit weird, but when there's a crisis and an emergency, we are in a very industrious nation, that's a business opportunity. There are a lot of people from industry here who really care about this and who are smart and know they need to disrupt themselves before somebody else disrupts them. And so this is something that is crucial for all of us and interesting for all of us. So what should be done? I sort of like this organization. This organization is the type of thing that decides what should be done. We need more high-risk, high-reward technical options out there because we can't read the future. We don't know what the future is going to hold. This is why we don't pick winners. We provide options. We fill gaps. We try to do things in a disruptive way, and we have the freedom to do them right. Because one of the most important things, excuse me, is that context matters and systems matter. Sometimes you might think you're doing the right thing. If everybody today had an electric car, I would love that, but that wouldn't solve this problem, because where does the electricity come from? You have to consider that. Solar, I love solar. I spent most of my career in solar. But if you look at that whole system, and if you're using coal-fired power to make the silicon, and you're releasing a bunch of hydrogen when you're making the gas to make some other silicon, when you look at that picture, did it matter whether you use that solar or not? There's a lot of things you need to consider in a lifetime cycle analysis of these kinds of technologies. And ARPA-E is special because we have freedom to do this in the right way. Because we have tech, we have market, we have all sorts of people who together right from the beginning say, what problems should be solved and why, and what should that solution look like? Here's a little word salad. I like a little word salad. This is just over the past year. These are all of the requests for information, workshops, and programs that we've put out just over the last year. And one of the things that I want you to notice from this is the diversity. We look all over the place. We don't hamper ourselves from looking at anything. We don't have a roadmap. We don't decide things from a top-down point of view. We bring in program directors that have terms from 3 to 5 years, then they leave, and other people come in. And we look at everything under the sun that we think can help solve this crisis that we're in and to fulfill our mission. And there are a lot of people that are going to be talking about stuff like this today at the summit. I'm going to highlight the fast pitches. You should try to see some of those. They're going to be amazing. And those aren't on here. This is just stuff that we've already talked about publicly. But let's talk about our mission, because our mission actually isn't just climate. Think about this. What I just showed you, really fits under reducing energy-related emissions and improving efficiency. But we also have issues of economics. We also have issues of security. And I'm not going to talk about geopolitics, but let's just say we all know that this is important. But also, in our mission is US competitiveness in the tech sector. That is also something that we think about. That's important to us. And we do things with our teams to help them succeed in the US. But I want to stress that this mission is crucial to us. We ask ourselves all the time, okay, what do we want to do? How does this fit with the mission? In a quantitative way, how does this fit with our mission? And I can't stress enough that we're a mission-driven agency. So here's our current portfolio. It's getting bigger and bigger and hard to put on one slide. This, excuse me, a lot of this is what you're going to be seeing in the technology showcase. So many performers are here today. Thank you so much, performers, for being here today, to show you the kinds of things that they've been working on. And I want to point out that we have some funding announcements that are open right now, so folks can't talk about them. But look at it, they're all over the place. They're in every different category that we have, even just the new programs. And again, we're trying to do things all across the board. And I hope previous performers, program directors, techno-market folks that are here that see their programs are very proud of what they've done, because they should be. There's a few other things that we do. We have a big open FOA. Every 3 years, we just had one in 2021. Thank you to everybody who reviewed for that and submitted to that. That was a monumental effort for the agency, and we already have a number of those contracted. So we're very proud of that. A couple other things I want to mention, some of the different things we do. We have an SBIR seedling, sort of very, very earliest stage kind of thing going on that we have actually open right now. And we have something called Scale Up, completely other end of the spectrum. One of the things that we realized is even if our teams could do what we thought was impossible and did this amazing technology in their labs, it wasn't de-risked enough to get funding to move forward. And the saddest thing ever to me is for something to die in the lab that worked, okay? So we started this startup program. We have one going on right now in 2021, so we won't talk about that, but I wanted to share with you a couple examples from this first Scale Up. One of them is Sila Nanotechnologies. They make a battery anode material that has silicon in it that makes batteries have a higher energy density. They will be manufacturing in Moses Lake, Washington State. We're very proud of this. We work with the team and able to make this happen. Here's another one, another battery company, Natron Energy. They make sodium-ion batteries. They don't use some of the critical materials, difficult to get materials that lithium-ion batteries use. They're going to be manufacturing with Clarios in Holland, Michigan. And this is a little extra special because the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act is where RPE got our money in 2009. That money also paid for that facility. And now they're going to be using that facility with that company to do manufacturing. So I think that's special. And then one more example. This one's a little bit personal to me because I came to a summit in 2014, and I saw somebody give fast pitch or a little seminar or something like that on doing methane detection. And I never really thought about the problem of methane leakage at the time and how hard it was to detect. And it really engaged me. And I got a call from a program director about joining the agency not too long after that, and then I did. I saw this program monitor start, go through, finish. This is one of those teams that's now in Scale Up, and Bridger is now finding methane leaks for multiple companies. They have contracts, and they're based in Bozeman, Montana. That was less than 10 years from when that program director had that idea to this, and I think that's amazing. So how are we doing? We have a number of metrics we look at for this. Again, it's hard when you're a high-risk, high-reward agency. You're doing things that are very early on. But what I want to share with you is that we have over $10 billion in follow-on funding directly related to the technologies that we funded. That's amazing, and we're very proud of that. There's also over $20 billion in valuations in terms of deals that were made that at the time, that was the number, so that's how we calculate that number. But also the companies made, projects that have gone to other places in the government, and you'll see there's an event called GAMPI for networking with other folks in the government and defense. We look at patents and patent licenses. That is something that we have a bigger and bigger focus on. And if you want to look at it over time, I think even the earliest people at ARPA-E would have been optimistic enough to draw a graph like that. No promises that we're going to stay exponential. There's some pretty big battery companies that contributed to that. But this is the type of thing, that 10-year sort of span that it takes to start having this happen. And just a few other things. Again, patents and patent licenses, those are a product in themselves, and those are important, and new companies. So we're just extremely proud of this. And finally, these are the feds that have worked at the agency, and there's a reason I put everybody on here. Not just program directors, not just tech to market, not just PhD fellows, legal and contracting, and everybody who makes the agency work. We all share the same mission. That is why we can do things like put a program like Scale Up together when somebody hadn't done it before. That's why we can have flexible funding vehicles. We all care about the same thing, and we're all passionate about it. And I want to thank every one of these people, including the ones who started last week and the ones who are starting in a month, for being part of this ARPA-E family. So I want to thank you so much and enjoy the summit.